Is this what dating is like for an average man? 23, m. Unless you are very good looking. Yes, this is normal. Women only want the top 5% of men and they are all competing to get that small minority. Average guys no longer have dating options. Women don't want average. Even as they are average or even way below average. They all want and are mathematically illiterate enough to expect and feel entitled to the very best 5%. 100% of women cannot have exclusive access to 5% of men. They get to share those men with other women. Those men have harems. Those 5% men usually just sleep with endless stream of women without ever commuting to any of them. Dating apps have destroyed dating. Nobody but 5% of men get what they want anymore. Women are miserable. Most men are miserable. Yes. The mean time between dates for the median average man on Tinder is several years. Meet real women. Chat them up at work. Make small talk while waiting in line. Get some hobbies where you can actually meet people. Join a club. Dating apps for young women is a buy your own experience game. What can you offer? Because it's a game. Do you have a car, job, disposable income for an interesting date where you pay for everything? This is the bare minimum to play the game as you're competing with late 20s plus. Who have all that and more. Being in shape and attractive is good. But that's a more meeting people in person thing. A person who meets the minimum requirements will still beat you. Though. It's pretty cringe. But honestly, the best place to meet women is in a part-time job with a high turnaround. Say bar work, warehouses, etc. It's like the only way to be friends. Hit the flirting state. And ask people out relatively comfortably. How common is it for liberal cities to be racially segregated in housing? Yes, they also tend to have the most income inequality. Yes, this very common in the US. It's technically not segregated. Segregated normally implies government legislation requiring people to be separate, things like laws preventing people from or requiring people to live in certain areas. That's not the case here. Instead, what is happening is the result of people generally liking to live around people who are like them, which tends to, over time, result in somewhat homogeneous neighborhoods. You never see white people in poor neighborhoods? The division is largely socioeconomic in my experience. Which does often lead to rich white neighborhoods. But in no way means white people are absent from the poor ones. I'm born and raised in LA and it's always been segregated. Even in areas where there's Mexicans and blacks. The blacks live in one 5-block radius and Mexicans have their own 5-block radius. I worked as an Amazon delivery driver and there would be a city with mostly Mexicans and then one giant apartment complex with all blacks or another with all Asians. Serious, what societal things did COVID-19 change permanently even after we recovered from the pandemic? A lot of restaurants around me have discontinued in dining. They've moved to takeout or delivery only. I hate that. While I often did takeout, sometimes I wanted to dine in, but the places that want to do that I don't even have that choice. Working from home is happening a lot faster for a lot of professions than it would have otherwise. Had a good friend whose office tried to get everyone to come back in for a full work week when things started opening back up. And they made it sound like it was non-negotiable. People started quitting. Management backtracked on that policy pretty damn fast and suddenly people could work from home as they wanted. For me as a mid-30-something, the fragility of life in our society as a whole, United States. I'm a lot more cautious financially and low-key have key items stored in case we can't make it to a store in an emergency. I'm more cautious of the continuous updates on the ever-decreasing workforce of burned-out nurses/doctors/teachers/ etc. And the resources and medicines that are seemingly becoming harder to obtain. An ever-growing population using finite resources. I know in my mind our society will rebound and things will even out, but still a little nervous for our future. We all know what jobs are really essential and which ones are a little bullshit. We've always known, but now we know for sure. It's why we've seen an increase in a lot of labor causes, unionizations, and the death of girl boss/hustle culture. As someone that works in a bullshit tech job, I think COVID really put things into perspective. It's not like I thought my job was critical to world peace, but I think COVID reminded me how unimportant it really was in the grand scheme of things. And how stupid it would be of me to pretend otherwise and sacrifice other parts of my life for it. Why would Democrats run Biden again? A lack of other options. Mostly, like, truly, who do the Democrats have that fit the criteria for a strong candidate? Probably their best bet is someone relatively liked who is so far flown under the radar, Pritzker or Whitmer maybe. But both have indicated they're not interested. Some of the other not great but not awful candidates like Newsom, Warren, and Buttigieg have also indicated they're not interested. Biden also outperformed in the midterms, or rather, Trump wildly underperformed, which supports his argument for running again. 2. Well, who are they going to run? Are there any Democratic polls who want to run and who have the stomach for what is going to be a nasty campaign? Are there any governors or senators who have the appeal to the masses? And can they find someone born after 1960? Please. If you show me another candidate who commits, at least verbally, to defending Taiwan, I'd vote for them. Or if they commit to establishing a new flying tigers in Ukraine and giving them 5th-generation fighters. But I haven't seen any politicians seriously advocating for those things. Also, what exactly has Biden done wrong? Other than being old, the president always does less than people assume since Congress does the majority of the work. And in terms of the things the president has control over, like foreign policy, I think Biden has done a fine job. The Dems don't have anyone else with such a profile. Theoretically, the VP would have that. But I can't see Harris ever getting there. It was hers to take. The Dems bench is so old. None of the younger ones who have tried have caught fire. To me, it's a failure of both the Dems and the reps to develop new candidates. Too much is invested in the personal political brands, and that's why we get old men candidates.